Sorry.
I feel like, at least in parts of the game, I am a lot better than, you know, the kids who are trying to take over. I generally feel that I can outplay the kids, which feels good. I think Gukesh showed in this tournament that he's on track. He's doing fantastic, but he's maybe not way ahead of track as we may have thought.
Picture this: the world's greatest chess player, Magnus Carlsen, sitting across from a 19-year-old kid who just became world champion. Magnus is winning. He's dominating. This should be easy, right? Wrong. What happened next was so shocking, so raw, so completely unexpected that it sent shockwaves through the entire chess world and beyond. We're talking about a moment so intense it got viewed by hundreds of millions of people who don't even play chess. A moment that made grown men question everything they thought they knew about the mental game. And here's the kicker: this wasn't just any loss. This was Magnus Carlsen, the man who's been untouchable for over a decade, having what can only be described as a complete and total meltdown. But here's what nobody's talking about: this outburst might actually reveal something much darker about what's really happening behind the scenes in elite chess. Something that goes way deeper than just losing a game. Let me paint you the full picture of what went down at Norway Chess 2025, because the details make this story even more insane. Magnus Carlsen wasn't just playing well against D, he was absolutely crushing him. We're talking about a position so winning that chess engines were showing +3 and +4 advantages for Magnus. In chess terms, that's like being up by 3 touchdowns in the fourth quarter. The game should have been over. Magnus had calculated everything perfectly, positioned his pieces like a master conductor orchestrating a symphony, and was literally moves away from what should have been a routine victory. But then something went horribly wrong. And I mean horribly wrong. This 19-year-old world champion started finding moves that nobody saw coming. Not Magnus, not the commentators, not even the computer analysis running in real time. It was like watching a magic trick in reverse. Instead of pulling a rabbit out of a hat, Gukesh was somehow making Magnus' winning position disappear piece by piece. The tension in the room became suffocating. You could literally see Magnus' confidence cracking with each move. Here's where it gets really crazy. This wasn't just Gukesh's first classical victory over Magnus at an elite tournament. It was a comeback that defied every law of chess logic. Magnus, the man who's made a career out of grinding out wins from impossible positions, was watching his own winning position slip away like sand through his fingers. The psychological impact was immediate and devastating. You could see it in his body language, the way his shoulders tensed, the way his breathing changed. This wasn't just a game anymore, this was personal. And then came the moment that broke the internet. After resigning, Magnus didn't just shake hands and walk away like the composed champion we're used to seeing. Instead, he slammed his fist down on the table with such explosive force that chess pieces went flying in every direction. The sound echoed through the tournament hall like a gunshot. Players at other boards turned to stare. Cameras captured every millisecond of raw, unfiltered emotion. In that single moment, the myth of the unshakable chess machine was shattered forever. What happened after the camera stopped rolling is where this story gets really dark, really fast. Because Magnus didn't just brush this off like another bad day at the office. No, he did something that elite athletes almost never do. He got brutally, painfully honest about what was really going through his head. And what he revealed should terrify anyone who thinks they understand the pressure these players are under. In his own words, Magnus described feeling washed and useless after the defeat. Think about that for a second. This is Magnus Carlsen, the man who's dominated chess for over a decade, who's won everything there is to win, who's considered by many to be the greatest player in history. And he's describing himself as washed and useless because of one game. One game! But it gets worse. He called the loss so dumb and unnecessary, which tells you everything you need to know about the level of self-blame and frustration eating away at him. Here's the part that really got to me. Magnus admitted that losses now affect him more deeply than victories do. Let that sink in. The man who's won more chess games than almost anyone alive is telling us that the pain of losing has become stronger than the joy of winning. That's not just competitive drive, that's psychological torture. It's like being addicted to a drug where the withdrawal symptoms are worse than the high. And when you're at Magnus level, where winning is expected and losing is catastrophic, every game becomes a potential nightmare. But here's what makes this even more disturbing. Magnus said these emotional reactions should be acceptable in chess, comparing it to other sports. Why did he feel the need to justify his reaction? Because chess has this weird, toxic culture where players are expected to be emotionless robots, where showing passion or frustration is somehow seen as weakness or poor sportsmanship. Magnus was essentially saying, "I'm human, and I'm tired of pretending I'm not." The fact that he had to defend his right to feel emotions tells you everything about the psychological prison these elite players live in. The most chilling part? This outburst might not have been about this one game at all. It might have been years of suppressed frustration, pressure, and expectations finally exploding to the surface. Magnus has been carrying the weight of being the best for so long that maybe, just maybe, he's starting to crack under the pressure. Now here's where the story takes an interesting turn, because Gukesh's reaction to all this drama reveals something huge about what's happening in the chess world right now. This 19-year-old kid, who just witnessed one of the most legendary players in history have a complete meltdown, handled it with a level of maturity that honestly puts most adults to shame. But his response also reveals something much deeper about the generational shift that's happening in chess. When asked about Magnus' explosive reaction, Gukesh said, "I mean, it was not the way I wanted it to be, but okay, I will take it." Think about the psychology behind that statement. This kid just achieved his first classical victory over Magnus Carlsen, something that should be the highlight of any chess player's career, and his first instinct is to show empathy for his opponent's emotional state. That's not just good sportsmanship, that's emotional intelligence at a level that most people never reach. But here's the kicker. Gukesh later admitted he laughed for 10 minutes when he saw the viral memes created from Magnus' outburst. And you know what? Good for him! This shows a completely different relationship with pressure and expectations than what we see from the older generation. While Magnus is torturing himself over losses, Gukesh is laughing at internet memes. While Magnus is describing himself as washed and useless, Gukesh is taking everything in stride and enjoying the moment. This generational difference is huge, and it's not just about age, it's about how these players were raised in the chess world. Gukesh grew up in the social media era, where everything is content, where viral moments are part of the game, where showing emotion isn't seen as weakness but as authenticity. He's comfortable with the spotlight in a way that the older generation never learned to be. He's not carrying the same psychological baggage about what it means to be a serious chess player. But here's what's really fascinating. Gukesh's grace under pressure might actually be more devastating to Magnus than any trash talk or gloating could have been. By handling the situation with such maturity and humor, Gukesh essentially highlighted just how much Magnus was struggling emotionally. It was like watching a calm, collected teenager comfort a stressed-out adult. The optics were brutal for Magnus, even though Gukesh clearly didn't intend it that way. This moment perfectly captures what's happening in chess right now. The old guard, with all their psychological baggage and pressure, being overtaken by a new generation that approaches the game with completely different energy. And honestly, that might be exactly what chess needs. What happened next was absolutely unprecedented in chess history, and it reveals something fascinating about how our relationship with the game is changing in real time. Within hours of Magnus' outburst, the video had exploded across every social media platform imaginable. We're not talking about chess channels or chess forums, we're talking about mainstream TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, even LinkedIn. Suddenly, People who couldn't tell a pawn from a queen were sharing videos of Magnus Carlsen having a meltdown. The memes came fast and furious. Magnus' fist slam was edited into everything from anime fight scenes to cooking shows. People were adding sound effects, creating remixes, turning it into reaction GIFs. The chess world had never seen anything like it. But here's what's really wild. This viral moment did more to humanize chess and make it relatable to regular people than decades of traditional chess promotion ever accomplished. Suddenly, chess wasn't this boring, intellectual game played by emotionless nerds. It was a high-stakes, emotionally intense competition where even the greatest players could lose their cool. But the chess community itself was completely divided. On one side, you had people defending Magnus, saying his reaction was completely understandable and human. These supporters argued that chess is an incredibly intense mental sport, and that showing emotion should be celebrated, not criticized. They pointed out that tennis players smash rackets, football players throw helmets, basketball players get technical fouls, so why should chess players be held to some impossible standard of emotional control? On the other side, you had the traditionalists who were absolutely horrified. These people saw Magnus' outburst as a betrayal of chess's dignified image. They argued that chess has always been about mental discipline and emotional control, and that this kind of behavior sets a terrible example for young players. Some even called for sanctions or penalties, treating the fist slam like it was some kind of violent conduct. But here's the most interesting part. The neutral observers, many of whom weren't even chess players, were fascinated by the raw emotion. Comments poured in from people saying things like, "I never knew chess could be this intense," or "This makes me want to learn chess." The outburst had accidentally become the best chess marketing campaign in years. It showed the world that chess isn't just about moving pieces around a board, it's about human drama, psychological warfare, and emotional investment at the highest level. The global media coverage was insane. Major news outlets that normally wouldn't touch a chess story were running features about Magnus' meltdown. Sports commentators who probably couldn't explain how a knight moves were analyzing the psychological implications. The story transcended chess and became a broader conversation about pressure, expectations, and mental health in competitive environments. This single moment, Magnus Carlsen slamming his fist on a chess table, might have changed the trajectory of chess forever. And here's why that's both exciting and terrifying. For decades, chess has struggled with an image problem. It's been seen as this stuffy, intellectual pursuit for socially awkward geniuses who live in their heads and never show emotion. Chess players were supposed to be these Zen masters who could calculate 20 moves ahead while maintaining perfect composure. That stereotype has been holding chess back from mainstream appeal for generations. Magnus' outburst shattered that stereotype in the most dramatic way possible. Suddenly, the world saw that chess players are human beings with real emotions, real pressure, and real stakes. The game wasn't just about moving pieces, it was about psychological warfare, mental endurance, and the kind of pressure that can break even the strongest minds. This humanization of chess has opened doors that were previously locked shut. Kids who might have been intimidated by chess's serious image are now seeing it as an intense, emotionally engaging competition. But there's a darker side to this transformation. The viral nature of Magnus' meltdown has also highlighted the incredible pressure these elite players are under. We're talking about pressure that can literally break the mind of someone who's considered the greatest player in history. If Magnus Carlsen can have a complete emotional breakdown over a chess game, what does that say about the psychological toll this game takes on its top practitioners? Are we pushing these players beyond their mental limits for our entertainment? The generational shift is also accelerating because of this moment. Young players like Gukesh are showing that you can be emotionally intelligent, socially aware, and still dominate at the highest level. They're not carrying the same psychological baggage as the older generation. They grow up with social media, with viral moments, with the understanding that showing emotion isn't weakness, it's authenticity. This new generation might completely reshape what it means to be a professional chess player. The media evolution aspect is huge too. Chess content is becoming mainstream in ways we never imagined. A single emotional moment can now reach hundreds of millions of people instantly. Chess streamers are getting celebrity-level attention. Tournament moments are becoming viral content. The game is being democratized and popularized at a pace that's honestly a little overwhelming for the traditional chess establishment. But here's the most important part. This moment has started crucial conversations about mental health in competitive chess. For too long, the chess world has ignored the psychological toll of elite competition. Players have been expected to suffer in silence, to maintain perfect composure no matter what. Magnus' breakdown has forced everyone to confront the reality that these players are human beings who need support, understanding, and sometimes just the right to feel frustrated when things go wrong. The game will never be the same, and honestly, that might be exactly what it needed. What do you think? Was Magnus' reaction completely justified, or did he cross a line? Have you ever had a moment where the pressure just became too much? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and let me know if you want me to dive deeper into the psychological warfare that happens in elite chess. The stories I could tell you about what really goes on behind the scenes would blow your mind. Speaking of chess drama, wait until you hear about the FIDE World Blitz Championship controversy that has the entire chess world questioning whether the game is rigged. That story is coming up next, and trust me, it's even more explosive than Magnus' Meltdown.